Hi, I'm Roger Monder, and this is Breaking Ground. Today we're going to explore again the theme of innovation and technology. Our first stop will take us to the Springdale area, where we'll visit the farm of Jewel and Dean Rousel. To simply say that this is a vegetable farm would be an understatement. Through the gas mitigation program, they have done an about-face regarding how they fertilize their fields. Not only that, but they have developed a marketing model that should be looked at by supermarket managers and farmers alike. It is a formula where everyone comes out a winner. Continuing with our theme of innovation and technology, we're heading out to Whitburn, where we will visit Dick Whitaker's farm. It is there that we will get to look firsthand at a sheep insemination program. This program has brought in vets from Alberta and Brazil who are here to pass their knowledge on to local veterinarians. This experiment gave local farmers access to some of the best breeding stock in the world. We're off to nearby Markland. There, we will drop into the Rodriguez Winery, where local berries produce some of the most enjoyable wines you will ever taste. Almost 30 years ago, Dr. Hilary Rodriguez tasted a drop of homemade blueberry wine. From that first taste, a winery has evolved into a thriving business. The wines are made from fresh Newfoundland and Labrador berries, with the wines landing on shelves from the US to China. The story of the Rodriguez Winery doesn't end there. Monique Tobin will have a chat with Lionel Rodriguez. He is a part of a program that is looking into nutraceuticals. The province has a great foundation to build on because of an abundance of natural berries and natural plants. Already native plants have been earmarked for development, and Lionel will update us on the latest developments while explaining to us the whole concept of nutraceuticals. If you stay tuned, I can promise you a show that you will be glad to have seen. See you in 2. Welcome back. Now we're off to the farm of Jewel and Dean Rousel near Springdale.
Rousel Farms Limited has been in existence for over 40 years. This 50-acre enterprise grows all the basic vegetables such as potatoes, carrots and turnip. The soil is good and has a lot less rock than most Newfoundland farms. But the soil needs nutrients, and because of a lack of animal manure in the area, farmers took naturally to the use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides.
Chemicals and commercial fertilizer, bag fertilizer, that's only good for that growing year, and you can't keep taking out and taking out. You've got to keep replacing something into the soil. Eventually you'll wear the soil out that bad that nothing will grow. So we try to put something back in other than the bag fertilizer, because bag fertilizer, whatever you put in the spring, is gone when the harvest is done. All the vegetables take whatever's in that bag fertilizer out, right? We let the oats grow about 3 feet tall, and then we don't cut anything off. We plow the old works down. Whatever's there, we plow it all down into the ground. 2 reasons: loosens the soil, lets the hair in, and plus it rots into the ground and makes fertilizer for the next year. The last 2 years that we have had a green manure, which is a greenhouse gas mitigation program to grow green manure, to do some experimenting on amounts of fertilizer and different kinds of chemicals that we spray for diseases and other stuff. What we're doing in the last 2 years, our potatoes that follow the green manure, we're cutting our fertilizer by half, 50%, and we're getting just good yields. So actually we're saving money, plus we're not using as much fertilizer, and we think that vegetables that's grown from a natural manure is a lot better than the bag manure or bag fertilizer.
Marketing is always a concern for the farmer. The truth is, a farmer would sooner grow vegetables than sell them. But Dean tells us an insightful story of how cooperation in selling vegetables turned into a win-win situation.
In Green Bay, there was like 10 or 12 farmers selling door to door, which was very competitive. So I got into a farm market in Springdale about 15 years ago and built it up over the years. And then we got involved with a big supermarket across the street from our farm market, and they got very envious of how much produce we were selling. I got very upset. So we sat down and talked to them, and they decided to move inside your supermarket, which is very unique. So our farm market now is inside a supermarket. Last year it was a Save Easy supermarket. Everything went very well. Our sales doubled over the previous year. which is good for us. Their produce sales went up by 20 to 25%, which was good for them. So it was a win-win situation. And needless to say, we're back there again this year.
The Rousel's involvement in the gas mitigation program and their unique solution to marketing their vegetables goes a long way to proving that a positive and creative approach will help farmers deal with the ever-changing face of farming in this province.
Now that we have your attention, I'm sure we can keep it with this piece on sheep reproduction. It's a story of science and cooperation.
Sheep farming in Newfoundland and Labrador is a precarious business to be in. Having enough cleared land for pasture, coyote and dog predation, and underdeveloped markets all contribute to a situation that can prove difficult. Sheep breeding is another concern, but as we all know, new technologies can go a long way to improving that situation. Ron Walsh of the Sheep Producers of Newfoundland and Labrador gives us an insight into why genetics can help the sheep industry in this province.
Because we live on an island, we can't go down the road and see what the next guy is doing, so we've imported genetics. So that lets us diversify a little bit easier than what we have normally. So we're able to shop out, we'll say, for the exact breeds that we want, the characteristics that we want, and we can order that to our specifications. So now we can bring it into our sheep without the live animals, get them inseminated, use vets from visiting provinces and our own vets, and the Department of Natural Resources, the Agri-Foods branch, ACOA, and Service Canada also help us with this and fund us, because we know and they know that we need that infrastructure in place if we're going to succeed. The thing is that you want diversification. If you keep breeding to the same genetics, your gene pool gets narrowed and you end up with inbreeding, and we don't want that. We want to diversify and expand our industry, and to do that you need different terminal sires and genetics that are different from what you already have.
The insemination process looks simple and straightforward, but is very much an exact science. Here Dr. Lynn Tate of Alberta begins the process by administering a local anesthetic to deaden the pain of the eventual operation. Regional vets look on to learn the finer details of the process. Once the ewe is sedated, she is prepared for insemination by being shaved and cleaned. The next part of the procedure is done by Dr. Leticia Piccoli of Brazil. She punctures the outer abdominal wall twice. The first puncture accommodates a scope or camera, which allows her to get a good look at the ewe's insides. What are some of the problems you can have doing this here?
Well, not very many, but I need to always be careful because I have a sharp in the end, and if I go very deep I can make a rupture on the bladder.
The second puncture will eventually guide the insemination gun towards the uterus.
So now I can see the uterus inside. It's beautiful. Ready to be pregnant.
So Elaine, what are you doing here now?
I take the trocar out and place the pipette in that contains the semen for her.
Okay, push.
And when I push this, it pushes half the dose of semen into one horn, and then she'll replace the needle into the other horn, so we put half a dose in each side.
And so it goes. Before the day is out, all the ewes will be inseminated. Hopefully the lamb yield will be good, and the local vets will have acquired new knowledge about the process. And of course the farmers hope that the herds are improved. Farmer Dick Whitaker lays out the reasons why insemination has become the method of choice.
They're all aware of the the benefits of having good sires. Now, in the past, people have brought in rams from elsewhere and so on, and you've been pretty well confined to Canadian animals, some of which are good and some aren't. And again, if you want to buy a top-notch ram, you might pay $3,000 in Canada for it, or something like that, or quite a lot of money. You can get it something intermediate for maybe $500 or $600. Quite a lot of money anyway, because that animal's only used once a year, sits around eating for the rest of the year, and so on, but is obviously very important to your flock. So these are the other farmers have been at this a while. Same as myself, they recognize that here's a great opportunity to really bring some top-notch stuff into the province, and they're using different breeds than I am. I would expect that the rams these are coming from would probably be $5,000–6,000, maybe more. You know, we can't tell. I know that the grandfather of one of the rams that we're using here sold for nearly $450,000, so it'll give you an idea of what we were accessing here, you know. You can't really do better than that, you know, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us, I think, and hopefully down the road, if we can evolve this Texel flock into what might be there, we'll be somewhere in the top crowd in Canada, so that's the end game, really.
You gotta love science. After this short 2-minute break, we'll be heading out to Rodriguez Winery in Markland. Who would have ever thought that Newfoundland would have its own winery? Let's go out to Markland and have a look.
Who hasn't had a drop of homemade blueberry wine? Well, we all have had a glass of it at one time or another, so much so that it was taken for granted. When Dr. Hilary Rodriguez had his first taste of homemade wine, he loved it, and since then he has far from taken it for granted. That first taste of Newfoundland wine has blossomed into a thriving business, which sees wine from this province being shipped all over North America and even into Asian countries.
Well, we have 17,000 cases of wines and liqueurs that we produce presently. So we have the capacity of about 50,000 cases of wine, and we are currently servicing a contract with a customer in Texas for 2 containers a month up to December, and then 4 containers following that. Well, each container has 1,232 cases, so we're talking about 5,000 cases a month starting in December, and right now it's just 1,232 cases for this month and next month.
Well, it seems all that production would need a substantial supply of berries. How much exactly?
So we have a phenomenal need for berries for our wine operation, which is going to go to 4 containers a month, plus our Canadian, which is 17,000. So we will need a quadrupling of our present consumption, which is about 150,000 pounds. But that is really not significant enough. But we have a nutraceutical plant, and this nutraceutical plant is a pilot plant at this stage. And when we go to our full plant next August, we will need about 5 million pounds of fruit, and that will rise to 12 million pounds by 2007.
We all have a capacity to think ahead. The question is, can Newfoundland farmers marry into a vision that needs such an abundance of berries?
We may not come up with just blueberries and cranberries, but we will come up with a significant quantity of all the berries that we're talking about: blueberries, partridge berries, cranberries, black currants, and sea buckthorn. And we would like a significant production in this province. I can see that we will not get all of it in Newfoundland and Labrador, but we are really at the center of the universe, you know, or center of the globe, of the earth, I mean. And we can bring in feedstocks from any part of the world, finish them, and re-export them globally. Mm-hmm. So we will take everything that we can produce in Newfoundland and Labrador, and then from Canada, and then the world. Finish the products and sell these very high quality products in the global economy.
Not only does the vision require more berry production, but perhaps a new way of farmers doing business.
Well, if things improve and the Newfoundland farmer really is determined to produce, I would say we could produce about anywhere from 5 to 8 million pounds of combined fruits, you know. And this can be done if there's a strong willingness to do it. And but one thing that is very essential, I think, is that the farmers have to, in some way, join the processing effort, not as commodity wholesalers, but as actual partners. So we have something called vertical cooperation, not a cooperative, but vertical cooperation, where, let's say, the farmer buys into the nutraceutical plant, and we have a long-term marriage then. And this way, the farmer will get a dividend will get a price, from the produce he sells to the plant, and he will get a dividend from the profits of the plant. So we have to sort of invest in each other for long-term sustainability. Otherwise, I don't believe that the Newfoundland farmer can really compete with some of the emerging countries such as Chile, China, and other places that are producing berries that will compete with us. And their cost of production is so much lower because of government intervention, cost of labor, cost of harvesting. We will not be able to compete. So we need to actually tie in with high quality processing that is really at the leading edge. And that's the only way that we in Newfoundland Labrador can keep ahead of the game. And indeed, we in Canada can keep ahead of the game.
And then there's the whole idea of nutraceuticals. Fresh, naturally grown berries can be reduced to a dried or powdered state, which also retains its original beneficial properties.
Our drying technology is what we call refractance window drying, and this technology retains 94% of the bioactives and the nutrients in the powder. So consequently, you can use the powder, which is equivalent to, at a ratio of 1 to 12 to 1 to 15. 1 part is equivalent to 15 parts of fresh. So consequently, it's a highly concentrated form of bioavailable antioxidants. So this is really one of the leading reasons why I chose this technology for the powder. We are going to be producing powders, capsules and tablets, and we will be actually marketing, co-packing them for other people. Right now, some people are actually doing this in Hong Kong with our powders. Our juicing technology is really second to none. We have a technology that can actually extract 20% of the juice, 50%, up to 92% of the juice from a berry without damaging the berry. And this juice can then go directly into a mixing with other berry juices that we have, and we can go directly into bottling, or we can concentrate the juices and give you a double strength juice or a triple strength juice, depending on the application. So the resultant waste stream that we call the waste stream actually can be reinfused with apple juice and multivitamins and dried into a raisin type of product. And this raisin type of product can be used again in muffins, in cakes, in granola bars, in cereals, and just as a snack.
And this is another reason why Newfoundland and Labrador can step in. This province has a lot of positive characteristics that can make the nutraceutical industry a success.
So we are in a very unique position. We can get raw materials from around the world. In addition to whatever we have on the island, we can bring other products. We have to diversify. So we have a pristine environment. We have very, very, very good water in this province, and right on our side we have some beautiful water, totally uncontaminated, that very few countries can really say they have. So we have water, we need the employment, we have the brain power, we have the willingness, and we can do it.
Well, here's to continued success to the Rodriguez Winery. But the Rodriguez story is not over yet. When we come back, Monique Tobin will interview Leonel Rodriguez about the future of nutraceuticals in this province. Now here's Monique Tobin speaking with Leonel Rodriguez about the nature of nutraceuticals.
Leonel, maybe you could paint a picture for me of the nutraceutical and berry operation that you have going right now in Whitburn.
Well, presently we've expanded from our winery and distillery, and we're getting into nutraceuticals mainly for making dried fruit powders, juices, and concentrates to start off. Basically, we've imported a few new technologies into Canada that haven't existed here before. For the past 2 years, we've proved the science to Canadian scientists, and it's proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the technology produces higher quality berry powders, juices, and concentrates than anything else that's presently in production.
And what is the potential for what is the potential market for these berry powders and juices?
Well, blueberries, for example, are becoming one of the most sought-after commodities throughout the world, primarily in Southeast Asia, is where the biggest spurt has happened. So our initial test markets have shown a great interest in Southeast Asia for the base products.
So what are the natural resources that exist in the province that can be developed into nutraceutical products?
Well, this is something we're constantly finding more out about by just talking with other people. And basically, affiliations with local growing areas, growing projects. Like Samico's Future Development, for example, is one example of a company that took a few of the plants that we were planning on harvesting. Sea buckthorn is a plant that we imported from Latvia, for example. Because of the berry has higher bioactive properties than just about anything else. Russia developed this berry to reduce their dependence on citrus, importing citrus. They can be more self-contained. And this is a plant that will grow ideally in Newfoundland, in the climate of Newfoundland and the sturdiness of the tree. So that's one example, but that's an import. Things like roseroot, St. John's wort, beach peas, they all have different bioactive potential. And basically what we can do is we can find a way to utilize that potential and give somebody a secondary product that they can produce.
Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
Sometimes the obvious is right in front of us. On next week's show, we're heading out to central Newfoundland where science plays its part in the fur farming business. Margot White runs a central feed kitchen where she routinely tests the makeup of the feed that is given to mink and fox animals. She also gives out timely advice as to what recipes should be followed in order to produce the best results. We all have to be vigilant as to what kind of foods we are eating. To make the job a little bit easier, the field of organics is expanding significantly every year. 2 organic farms near the capital city of St. John's have been at the forefront for many years. The families of Mike Robinowitz and John Lean have been expanding their farms annually and see no end in sight. Monique Tobin is back with special guest Glenn Fitzpatrick to talk about the status of the co-op movement in the province. Every industry has room for cooperatives, and it has been a great tool in the agriculture sector here. Lots to talk about. Well, I sure hope you enjoyed the show. I'm your host, Roger Monder, and we'll see you next week.